This is how the forest looks. There's an unusual quiet and calmness in the forest. Look at the amaltas. It's just spread on the ground. I'm going to tell you a story today. As I can't shoot with my camera any kind of movement because there's no stability, I'll continue to, tell you stories and interesting facts and things like that, and also upload older videos in a new avatar. You can call it remixing or remastering, whatever, and keep the momentum going. Well, before my hand tires out, I'd like to continue with the story. The story is about my own life and how I grew up in a small town in the extreme northeast of India, the eastern Himalayas, you can say, where I was raised in the forests or amid the forests and the blue hills of Mizoram. It was idyllic, but it was a tough life. Every morning, I remember we had to go to school walking. Um, Sometimes the total distance, which was around 8.4 kilometers from where we lived in a village called Jaltlang, to where our school was in a village called Tlangnuam. So Tlangnuam essentially means mountain of joy. So school, the place where it was located, was a joyous place, I must presume. But it was not so for me because there was a lot of angst that one had to face. Some people are born to suffer, under unlucky stars, you can say, and whose whole life is about mourning and bewailing. Well, having said that, um, it was beautiful otherwise. You know, sparsely populated, people knew each other, but there's always a pro and a con to everything, I guess. It is incredibly humid, very humid. Just a few days ago, it was scorching heat. So, North India suffers extremes of weather and temperatures. In summer, this year it went up to 53 degrees and it was scorching. It almost singed my hair completely. And then now it rained for one day, which made up, I guess, 25% of the annual rainfall happened in one night. And because of that, the humidity is so oppressive that it is almost impossible to, to even breathe. एक heaviness है air में, हवा में, एक उमस है जो कि बयान नहीं कर सकते हैं. मैं I had to exercise, I had to walk despite the fasting regimen that I'm on right now, and it has really helped me reduce my the lumps that were all across here. You can still see and feel the lumps here and here around the armpits and in the groin area around here. So that I can't show you, obviously. But having said that, going back to my childhood, it was beautiful. And my love for fitness began when my father bought me a cassette tape of a Jane Fonda workout, I think, which was quite the rage in the 70s. Along with that, he bought me a book by Leslie Kenton called Ultra Health, and I was hooked. Plus, my Nanaji, who was a keen yoga enthusiast, introduced me to yoga, and I was mesmerized and fascinated by what the human body could do. So that was my refuge, and that has continued till date. So instead of therapy, I've always resorted to exercise, breathing, and mindfulness. I think it's important to suffer because if you don't suffer, then your life is like that. It doesn't understand. But when you suffer, there are undulations. And when you undulate a lot, you rake all the good and the bad. It's like a samundra manthan, literally in the real sense of the word. It's like a samundra manthan of your own life, and how you um, mold your life after that depends entirely on mm, how you take the undulations of life. So for me, I've resorted, of course, to various things. Um, Thankfully, I didn't fall into really very bad company. Ram Ramji. So I did not really fall into a very, very bad company, even though I was quite impressionable when I came to Delhi. I did not know the language. It was an alien language for me, which I learned. It took me around 6 years to learn Hindi. So people, places, and the environment shapes you depending on how thick-skinned or sensitive you are. Well, I did suffer a lot of mental agonies, and it's important to discuss them in today's times. But those days we didn't know, and everybody thought that I was a duffer, that I was a good for nothing, that I was almost like a vagabond and I would end up in the gutter like so many of the youth of that time did, my peers. I resorted to exercise, and how till date. I mean, come rain, come shine, I try to work out at least 2 hours every day, and it is a positive addiction, if at all. Of course, there was a phase in my life when I was partying hard in the Delhi night scene, almost every night, drinking out, going out with friends, and doing the whole shebang of things that one is expected to do. As a youth of that time. And you are also shaped by your peers because you can't live in isolation. Even though I was surrounded by people, I was always isolated somehow, strangely. You know, I did have a lot of friends, but later I came to know, and life has taught me very wisely that as long as you have the moolah, as long as you have the influence, as long as you have the titles, people will come to you, they will flock to you. I come from a Gurkha community. I guess each to his own, I can't really talk for other people. But I used to find it extremely strange because coming from a very close knit society where people set aside their fears, egos, everything, and everybody came together, that culture is still there today. They have their own strong cultural, emotional bonds as well. And despite the gossips and everything, which is, I think, human nature, human beings are the same everywhere. People are still tightly knit and are there for you when you need them. Today's time, I think even that is a show. Um, who am I to even judge or even talk about it? But one thing I've experienced in my own life is that a steady surge or a barrage of unfortunate events, when it besets you, even your most well meaning friends and well-wishers shy away from you. They just disappear. They just run away. And they were supposed to be your lifeline. And there's always a silver lining. I believe in that. That someday things will happen. And I'm just pouring out my heart because I think it's important to talk. And the internet is my therapy. So whoever cares to listen, please do. The flies are really bothering me, so I had to wear my glares. This is a signature, by the way. Anyhow, so my love for exercise began at a very young, impressionable age. And my father, who ran a timber business once upon a time, had sawdust and sand filled into a sack, and he had hung it in the garden, which I used, as a punching bag for my workouts, for my exercise. And then I encountered my so called first guru of martial arts. So he was a very mysterious, enigmatic guy, blonde, curly hair, and but he was a Gurkha or a mix race guy, and he came from Burma. Those days it was called Burma. There are a lot of flies, and he used to deal in gems. So he used to get Burmese rubies and little gems and knickknacks, and he used to sell them and make a living, I guess. Maybe he was a smuggler, who knows? But he was proficient in kung fu, and he taught me, or he infused the first steps of kung fu or martial arts and my love for Bruce Lee, and so the kida never went, and it continues till date, even though I'm not able to practice one form of exercise. Then came a time when my father, who was an ex-armyman, introduced me to the Canadian XBX exercise. It was a booklet which had 12 exercises meant to be completed in 12 minutes. So in 1 minute, you had one exercise, like a push-up or a squat or an abdominal exercise or a jumping exercise or a skipping exercise and so on. And I was hooked onto that, but it didn't give me a high because I did not reach the point where the body starts releasing adrenaline, and dopamine and so on. So I started skipping, and I skipped my way to hell, literally. I used to skip half an hour, 1 hour at a time, non-stop. Um, I didn't know any better, and it was too much of cardio. But anyhow, it is said that when you want something very badly, things are drawn to you. And ये सिलसिला चलता रहा. My maternal aunt's husband was a keen photographer and exercise enthused, so he was more into bodybuilding or weight training. And in those days, we didn't have iron or anything, so he fashioned, along with a group of friends in his village, carving stone and bamboo and wood and things like that, and had made a little gymnasium in a mud hut, a bamboo hut rather. And that became my refuge for quite some time, doing deadlifts and all kinds of exercises, and it used to give me a high. I think exercise has always been my therapy, like I have repeatedly said. And though my channel is a lifestyle channel where I also do food and travel and things like that, but things have not been very bright ever since demonetization, where I lost my business completely, and I had to shut shop and started doing freelancing and consulting companies. And again, a barrage of unfortunate events happened, and people always seem to blame the person who is undergoing the most trauma. So I was that punching bag. But thankfully, because of my spiritual training, because of my physical training, my mental strength was pretty strong. I was strong from within. So I did some great events. I did some events in Dubai. I did some events in Malaysia. I did some events in Mauritius, in Sri Lanka. I did some events in Thailand, and so on. And then COVID happened, and everything came to a standstill. My mother had a very miraculous operation, and she survived. And I came to Delhi barely a week before the lockdown. Unfortunately, I had found a job which was a documentary which I had to make and complete within a week's time. And I submitted the documentary on the 23rd of March 2020, and lockdown was announced. And from the next day onwards, I was home, shut down, completely shut off from the world. Um, it was a tough phase, but I continued to exercise and hone my skills in my art. Being a self taught artist, I experimented with a lot of crafts. I do a lot of decoupage. And painting in oils and acrylics. And working out. I mean, how much can you do that really? I mean, there's a limit to that. So, yeah. And then 2022, I was diagnosed with the Hodgkin's lymphoma. I started developing some strange lumps, and I was feeling very nauseatic and debilitated all the time, irritable, sleeplessness, loss of appetite, and so on and so forth. And I decided to do a checkup, and it turned out that I had Hodgkin's. It was the first stage, and the doctors had advised me a new treatment called CHOP plus R, CHOP, the acronyms for the medicines which are injected into your body, and the body slowly absorbs that, plus the radiation. I can't seem to put in a word. It is so busy today. Well, India is populated. What can you say? Nothing much. You have to bear, endure. And I think that endurance and tenacity is something that I've learned also. Unfortunate events that happened in my life. I'm not here to just cry it out and things like that, but also to share. It's important to share and not just show that everything is hunky dory. Everything is not hunky dory. We all have problems and issues, and we need to address them and talk. And I guess when you have no one to talk today, you have the internet to talk to, and that's exactly what I'm doing and sharing a piece of me with the world. So I guess the problem in today's world is that people don't have an outlet to talk, to have meaningful conversations, and to really express themselves in the way they should, free. We were born free, we are born free, and we have a voice which we can use positively to induce goodness and to bring forth a humanity which is inherently there in everybody. So that has become my mission through my illness, through my fitness, through my lifestyle, through my Bollywood, you know, craze. Uh, and I have not been able to lip sync. I'm still awkward, but I'm trying. And I do think everything happens for the better. Um, my leaving home so many decades ago has proved to be a boon more than anything. I'll explain why. I'm not encouraging people to leave their homes, but I think it's important to explore the whole wide world, with a new perspective, your perspective, and write a story, your story. And that is what I'm sharing with the world. Coming from such a cloistered place, geographic location, it was not very approachable those days. It still isn't. I'm exhausted. This weather is really draining. This is my infused water. Hello, Whitey. Hello, Snowy. Hello, Snowy. Hello, Snowy. Now that's a tree stump. I'll be sitting on it for a bit and chatting with you guys. Very soon, all of this will fill out into a thick foliage of green, verdant green. So my fitness journey continues as I explore the forest, and every day there's a new thing. I'll have to stand still for it not to shake. I always forget. I go back to my beautiful camera which got broken, and I'm going to wail and bemoan and cry about it till the time I get my new one. This is what my illness does to me, you know. I do really have a tendency to repeat myself. This is because of the mental illness, and I think there's a whole cocktail of things happening inside my life. Canny. Each time I shut the camera, the banging stops. It's as if it's on cue. With that, we come to a wrap for today's video. See you tomorrow again.